Have you prepared for your US CMA exam and ready to attempt your exam soon? Well, here is a news for you in terms of how to manage your time, particularly with the MCQs. All of you know that each part of US CMA exam contains 100 MCQs and 2 essay questions. Those 100 MCQs has been dedicatedly allotted with 3 hours of time, which means 180 minutes. Approximately, when you divide this 180 minutes with 100 questions, you get, yes, that's right, 1.8 minutes, which means 1 minute and 50 seconds. So don't treat this as a 1.5 minute again, 1 minute and 50 seconds. But I would advise you to complete or manage to answer each single question in approximately less than 1.5 minutes, which is 1 minute and 30 seconds, which will leave you at least 20 to 30 seconds of additional time when you answer early those questions that you are well aware, or the short questions where you can use this time for the other questions which will require more time to calculate or comprehend those lengthy questions, right? So don't waste your time on one single question, irrespective of whatever it is, right? So if you know very well, just answer it. Otherwise, I would advise you to move on with the next questions. That way, it will give you additional time to face a lengthy and difficult questions. And also it will allow you to review whatever you are not confident at initial stage. If you overspend the time at initial hours, you might run out of the time, and it will simply increase a pressure on you to run through fast, which will not help you to answer, though you know few things at the end, but answer them correctly. If you are running out of time, you are under pressure and you may choose one of those options, or there might be a chance that you need to skip some of them. All right. So I'm going to give you more tips how you can easily handle these 100 MCQs in less than 3 hours. Believe that when I gave my exam, I was able to answer more than 50 questions in first hour. So what is the average in that case? If you look at 60 minutes for 50 questions, which is like 1 minute and 20 seconds approximately. That really gave me an additional time to use on those questions wherever requires a lengthy questions to understand, interpret, and answer it, right? So here are a few tips when you go to exam, right? So I would always advise you to carry your own calculator. That's a very basic and important thing for everybody to carry their own calculator. Though there are not too many calculations which would require, but still, as each and every second matters in your exam. So carry your own calculator. What happens if you don't carry? You can use an inbuilt calculator which is available in a Prometric software, or you can request Prometric Center to provide a physical calculator. They might provide one if it is available with them. Otherwise, you are forced to use an inbuilt calculator, which is there in the software. So what are the feasible calculators or allowed calculators for that matter? So as the statement issued by IMA in the handbook, which is available when you log into your profile or go to IMA website, which is available for you to read the instructions, what kind of calculators are allowed for the CMA exam. So these are the ones which I am listing it here. So the one which has a simple 6 function models. What are those 6 functions again? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, percentage, and square roots. These are the functions allowed in your calculator. What if you are using one of those financial calculators? Well, so make sure your calculator falls under one of those below categories, like Hewlett Packard, which HP means Hewlett Packard 10BII or HP 10BII plus, or you call it as a 10B2 plus, HP 12C, HP 12C Platinum, or Texas Instrument BA2 plus. Okay, so these are the calculators which are allowed for the exam. And also the advantage of carrying your own calculator is you are already got used to your calculator, which will help you to use it in a faster manner in the exam. Obviously, the speed will save your time. So don't forget this point to carry your own calculator. Try to pick a big calculator, which is a more convenient for you to key in the numbers rather than you struggle with a very small one, right? Now you know that what are the calculators are allowed. Let's look into the convenient one which can help you and save the time as well. Let's look at this calculator, right? If you look at this calculator, right? Very small keypad, which is not really comfortable for you to key in the numbers whenever you are particularly taking an exam. I would personally will not recommend to use this kind of calculators in your examination. Why? Because so there will be a lot of stress or focus required for you to key in the numbers. By chance, you might enter some other digit with this kind of calculators, though it is as the keypad is a very small one. So now you might got some idea what kind of calculators to pick for your exam, right? I would recommend you to buy or use calculator something like this, which will have bigger keypad, a good amount of space between the keys, I mean the numbers, and also which has a 00 here, which can help you to quickly enter the numbers wherever it is really required, which is good for you to use this kind of calculators. When you keep practicing with this kind of calculators, carry the same one for your exam also. Then it will be very easy for you to manage your time wherever the calculations comes into picture. All right, let's check into the other points where you can save some time in terms of MCQs. There are certain keywords which you need to keep attention before answering a question, because there are few words which you may miss to read clearly, or while reading the answer options, you might omit to consider this. What are those such words? Always keep in mind, these words will also make you to choose wrong answers, right? Always consider whether your question contains anywhere the word except. Be careful about it, right? If you don't pay attention to this word, I'm sure the answer, whatever you are going to choose, will go wrong. For example, let's look into one question, how it looks like. Here is one of those questions which I was referring to, the one which contains except. Read this question carefully, right? All of the following are major business sustainability issues, except. Whenever you read this kind of question, make sure you are going to pick the right answer. To answer correctly, you should understand the question first correctly. Yeah, so make sure you focus on this word. Then the next word, what we have here is least. Hope by this time you got some idea how to read the question. So there are some situations, some of the questions are framed in such a way that find out or below are the reasons or the uses which are going to help at least in particular scenario. So whenever you have this kind of wordings, you should be very careful. And most, except, least, most, and few other words you may find something like this. So be careful and try to check for these particular words whenever you get in your questions. All right. Then moving on, how to start facing your questions. When you understood this basic requirement, what are the things that you need to find or start with? Start answering with a theoretical questions which doesn't require any calculations at all. When you look at a theoretical questions which are very simple in one-liner, something like this, what we have seen here. And if you look at questions, something like this, or they are simple one-liner, just read it and pick your answer and go on. So whenever you see a smaller ones, you are good to go. But whenever you see a lengthier ones, something like, let me see if I can pick a couple of questions for you. In few scenarios, there might be a chance that you will face some questions which are like more than half of your screen, right? Those literally will take a long time for you to read and understand what exactly they are expecting you to pick an answer. So what should you do in such kind of scenarios? Check whether that has any calculation portion required. And if that is not going to take much of your time and they are quick in calculation, see, by reading the last line first, if you read that, you will be able to get to know what they are expecting you to answer it. So that way you can easily come to know, okay, I know this, I know the formula, how to calculate this, or I know what are the numbers needed to calculate this. Quickly put those numbers into your calculator and answer your question and move on. Then if you don't know any calculation or you forgot something to answer it, I would recommend you to flag it and move on rather than spending more time over it. So that way you can always come back with the flagged questions and see what you have already flagged and you didn't answer earlier. Then comes to the review flagged ones. So once you flag them and you were not able to complete earlier, you can come back and answer them now. So while reviewing those questions, what would be the strategy that you should follow again? There are no negative marks for any of the MCQs or essays in any part of your CMA exams. Keep this in mind. And with that, it is not going to hurt or will not have any negative impact on your score when you answer few questions that you don't know, you still can do some guesswork and do it, but don't leave any question unanswered, right? If you leave unanswered, that will be by default considered as incorrect. So what do you get by just leaving it? You just lose the mark, though there is a 0.25, which is a 25% of probability, which is a 1/4 of your probability out of 4 options, isn't it? So make use of this and make your best guess and answer them if you don't know it. I'll share you one more tip, how to do that guesswork also, right? So whenever you don't know, you already flagged and you are moving on. And there is an odd man out technique. Use this odd man out technique. When you read the question and look at the answer options, something will sense to your mind that with your knowledge that you had already gone through with the topic, will tell you that looks like option so and so may not be fit into this criteria what they are asking. So that way you can exclude that option by default. Now you left with 3 options. Then similarly, you see that what are the other ones which are nowhere close to, or which are the ones very close to. In that manner, try to guess and see if you can answer one of those right options, or go with your gut feeling, whichever you think that it's the right option. Finally, review those flagged questions again. So what are those you flagged it? Go back and check if you left with more time. So there are 2 advantages if you left with time. If you left with more minutes in your MCQs, either you can go back to these kind of flagged questions or unanswered questions and review those things quickly. And if you have an opportunity to recollect something and correct them, you can do so, or else you can move on to essay questions. When you move on to the essay questions, what happens, whatever the time you saved on MCQs will be carry forwarded onto your essays, which means you can use these extra minutes along with 1 hour of your MCQs, essays time. So, but be careful, once you move on to your essay section, you will not be able to come back to MCQs again. That's the only limitation here. Otherwise, you are good to move on to essay questions. Hope you understood these tips. And before we move on to the further or the next ones, I would like to show you a practical exam, how it looks like when you go and attempt in through Prometric software. So there is a simulation available for all of you to access from IMA website. I would recommend you to practice at least once or twice through this simulator for you to get familiar with how the real exam screens, navigations, all the options available in your exam, which can help you to have a good idea about software. And also it can save the time with all the options available if you make use of them wisely. I'll show you a couple of those tips, how you can save time by using these tricks in using all the options of your Prometric software. When you log into your IMA profile, you will find an option called CMA Exam Simulator from Prometric. Just click on this link, which will take you to this page. Once it takes you here, it is just a sample simulator one, but this is exactly resembles your real exam. You will feel that real exam feeling now. Let's see that. So there is a, please enter your 8-character HTML key code. Don't worry about this code for now. And this is just for a system check. So what are the requirements that is required and all. So don't worry about this. In case you are doing, you are taking exam remotely, make sure you test all these requirements well in advance, whether all these options are fine or not for you, right? So that way it will help you, your system is ready and you can easily write your exam whenever you are taking your remote exam, which means from your homes. Or if you are going to one of the Prometric centers, you don't need to worry about system check because the personnel available at Prometric center will test all this and keep a system ready for you where you can start from next step, which I'm going to show you. You don't need to worry about all those technicalities. So you don't worry about what are those preferences available here. You just click on OK. And this is how the navigation happens there. As soon as you enter your examination, when the Prometric Center allot a computer to you, when you click next, and which will prompt you to verify your names, which will have your last name and first name. Just confirm those names if that matches, and also make sure which exam you are taking it, whether it's part 1 or a part 2. If these details are correct, then click on confirm. If you find any discrepancy in this, majorly like your exam part is not matching, if you are taking part 1, but it appears as a part 2, and you are appearing your exam in English language, but it shows Chinese, you will not be able to answer anything, right? Because you don't know Chinese, how to read it, unless you already opted for a Chinese. So make sure the language, exam name, whether it is a part 1 or part 2, and your names are matching. Then give confirm. And there is a confidentiality agreement comes in. You read through this and click, I accept these terms. When you click on this, I accept, then only you'll be able to continue. Otherwise, it will not allow you to continue. Just click on this, then click on continue. So if you observe it, there is a time running here. So this is how it looks like. As soon as you enter examination hall and you start confirming your personal details, it will land up in this screen, which will help you understand how to navigate this. So I would strongly recommend you don't spend this 15 minutes of time in your real exam and go through all these 14 slides one by one. How can you optimize this time? When you go to exam hall, use this 15 minutes of time to write down those formulas or any important definitions that you tend to forget, which you think may require in somewhere in the MCQs that you are going to work. So put all those onto the scratch paper that has been provided to you. You will be provided with a couple of scratch papers and pencils. You can write those formulas or the definitions, whatever you think is most important for you in these 15 minutes. 15 minutes is a lot of time, right? So you use this time very carefully and write all those. If you practice this simulator at least once or twice at your home, much in advance, you can use that 15 minutes, which is bonus for you. So you don't need to spend there and go under pressure of attempting the exam. Hope this is really a great tip that will help you. If you navigate through here, which will tell you what are those buttons available here, what is this finish test means, what is this gear button means, what is this grid, what is next, what is back, what is start test means. Okay, let's quickly go through rather than spending too much of time. This will just give you an instructions. This sample contains 25 multiple choice questions presented in one content section. You will have 45 minutes to complete the exam. And this is just for you to aware about how the navigation happens. Let's click on next. When you click on next, it will move on to the next question or the next slide or whatever. welcome to the tutorial, and so on. So go next, next. In this manner, if you complete this, how to use mouse, they have explained it here. And also they have explained how those questions appear when you answer them. When you answer some questions, it will appear in a black in color, and one of those corners will be folded like this, right? Then if you flag any question, it will appear as flagged. If you have not yet answered, it will show like this. It will also show a question number image changes to this symbol, which is a kind of pointer, the arrow kind of thing, which indicates you are currently attempting this question. You see this as well, right? So when I move on to the next one, you will see that from 4 to 5, this arrow will move. Just observe that. Yeah, this has moved. And wherever you see this page requires scrolling, at the bottom you will find this page requires scrolling. Carefully pay attention, this kind of things. Why this will appear? Wherever there is a question overall occupies more than one screen. Whatever you see here is just a one screen from this line to this line. If it is exceeding these lines, and you would require to scroll down and read the rest of the question. Make sure you pay attention to such things and read the question completely. There might be some information either at the top or at bottom you are still missing, or which require you to scroll and read completely. Then move on to the next one, which shows about the time remaining for your exam. If you had observed carefully at the beginning of our session, we had seen 15 minutes. Now it is counting down to 0. So this is how remaining time will looks like. So you will get used to this kind of thing when you start working from your live test banks that you are using from one of your test providers, whatever the software that you are using, either Hawk, Gleam, Wiley, or whatever. Make sure whether you have a reverse time, which means a countdown timer is available. Otherwise, you may need to manually calculate, right? Whenever you are practicing, I mean, in a real exam, it will start with 2 hours and 59 minutes, 59 seconds. So from there on, it will come to 0. So the remaining time will be shown always at the top of this MCQs. When you move on to the next one, which shows a flagging questions, how to flag. And so if you had observed when I move from prior to here, there was this page requires scrolling. So just now we seen in a prior slide, right? So which means that there is some more information left below. So it is suggesting you to scroll and check what is left. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. In this case, it is showing you how to flag it. So here we don't have anything to flag, but let's move on to some questions. There you can see that when you flag it, but certainly it will show a flag symbol next to a question number. Then when you move on to the other one, which will tell you about answering multiple choice questions, there are various options available to your question. If you think that there's a right answer, you just straight away click, which will get highlighted in this color, and your question will be marked as black, and left top corner will be folded. So if you think that you have incorrectly chosen this answer and you wanted to change your answering options, can you change it? Yes, it will allow any number of times that you wanted to change it. You can switch between any of those options that you think that. There is no freezing for any number of times that you wanted to choose it. You are free to change at any time until you click finish test. You can come back to any particular question and change your answer options. So you don't need to worry about it in case you had chosen incorrect one initially by mistake or for any reason. Then when you move on to the further one, if you want to use a calculator, if you didn't carry your own calculator, like I mentioned already, there is an inbuilt calculator available in your Prometric software. So if you click on this calculator symbol, whenever it is available on your screen, which will prompt you a calculator, something like this. Either you can move here and there like this, and you just key in those numbers using your mouse pad, or use either use mouse or keyboard numeric pad, which is available right side of your keyboard, whatever you are comfortable with. If you are comfortable with keyboard, still you can use this and see this kind of options if you wanted to try this calculator. Okay, always I would recommend don't use this calculator because it may take a longer time than your physical calculator. If you are comfortable, then that is your choice. Then if you move on, there is one fantastic technique. So most of the time what happens whenever you see any question which requires a calculation, you will try to write those numbers or some important piece of information on paper. So what happens whenever you try writing this, it will simply consume your extra time, isn't it? So rather than wasting this time, so you can highlight the important information. Let's say that I wanted to highlight something, just whenever you are selecting, right? Just click and drag with your mouse, just like how you select your text in any other application like your MS Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Whenever you select like this, automatically there is a highlighter comes in. You just click on highlighter, which will highlight the text that you are looking for. If I want to highlight this highlight text, I can do that. You just highlight the important portions in your question, which will be easy for you to look into what you are actually looking for in the answer options as well. If you start writing on a paper, you will lose time. So strongly, I would advise use this highlighter as much as possible and avoid putting those numbers or the information onto the paper, right? So no need to waste our time, though there is good option available in your software itself. Then there comes another life-saving, time-saving, and life-saving feature in Prometric software, which is a striking out options. If you think one of these options are not correct, you wanted to make it odd man out. Whenever you wanted to make odd one out, so let's say that how many lungs does the typical human body have? I'm sure it is not 4, at least. So how can I do this? Hey, by chance I have selected 4, but I don't think there's a right answer. So don't worry. So you just need to strike out and then you can move on. So how to do that strikeout? Just right click on this. And when you do a left click, which will select as a correct answer or your option as a selection. If you do a right click, which will strike out, which means it is not choosing or submitting as a correct answer. It is just eliminating from your option choice. Don't consider this as a final and you marked it, right? If I strike out these 3 options and left one is still not considered as right answer selected. All right. So make sure you still select a right answer. Okay. So you can strike out and you can think about, and now you go back to your question if you want to read one more time and come back and answer the right one. Right. So no need to remove this strike off again. In case you wanted to remove it, and click one more time to remove that strikeout mark. When you do twice, it will come out. Okay, so no need to worry about, you can leave it and still you can move on. Okay, so what is next here is, there is a grid option. When you see this grid option next to the gear icon, which means this is a very helpful and powerful technique of filtering your three categories of questions. If you have unattempted questions, which you didn't attempt earlier and left as it is without flagging, and you attempted all, you wanted to have a look, you still can filter, or you just flagged it with or without answer, you have flagged it. And you can choose either one of these filters, or you can choose multiple filters also. All right, once you select these filters, make sure you click on this lock symbol. When you click on lock pad, only these filter criteria will get locked, and those particular criteria matching questions will be shown here in your list. You no need to again scroll down from 1 to 100 where and all you have left the question or marked or flagged and navigate it. That's an easy way of filtering and navigate your questions. All right. So what else we have it in the software? Ending the examination. So this ending examination happens when you click on finish test. Don't click on finish test at any point of the time without checking whether you have answered all the questions or not. Are there any flagged questions that you wanted to review? Make sure if you wanted to do them, do all of that. And whenever you are done and are sure that you wanted to move on to the next section, click finish button. Once you click on finish and it moves to the essay questions, there is no chance that you can come back to MCQs again. All right. So make sure when to click a finish test. So what happens when you are not really done with few questions and you're still left with few questions and you wanted to attempt them and you are running out of time like this? So you're left with last few seconds and it will forcefully move you from MCQs to automatically to essay section. See, in this case, there was a start button, start test available, but I was not able to complete few questions and I thought of doing it, but it didn't allow me to go back also. By automatically, it will move to the next section, whatever is available. All right. When you look at now, now your exam has started. Let's see that how to apply all those techniques that we had gone through already. So there is a word best. Make sure you identify this kind of keywords and answer accordingly, right? So now you see some word here and you feel that according to this, it matches this. Okay, let me go on next. Or you can click on any one of this question number also straight away to jump onto that particular question in case you feel you wanted to answer. Okay, now what you can do, so answer all those one-liners. See here, it requires, this page requires scrolling. It looks lengthy. Don't get tensed, or you don't need to take a, you don't need to pressurize on this, right? So read a last line first whenever you see this kind of questions. That will help you what kind of portions that you need to pick from this. The raw material price variance for the year was, it is asking you a raw material price variance. What does it mean? So let me, okay, raw material price variance. So this is a keyword that I need to work out now. Now I know what are the things that I need to pick from this whole information provided. Now I'll highlight the information, all that I need quickly. So then I can easily calculate using calculator and move on. If you think you will not be able to answer this quickly, highlight what is the ask of the question and flag it and move on to the next one. That way, when you come back next time, you don't need to read the whole question again. You already have highlighted so that you can quickly pick next time and at least answer it. Good. So this is again one-liner, simple, doesn't have any calculations. I'll answer it and move on. And I see the next question, which has a bit lengthy, but let me read the last line first, whether it can help me to see what exactly I need to answer for this. The learning rate experienced by the company on the first 2 lots of the product. It looks like a learning curve analysis. So learning rate experienced by the company for the first 2 lots. Okay, highlight this. This requires a calculation. So will I be able to do that quickly? Make that quick judgment in first 10 to 15 seconds max. If you think it is a very easy for you and you'll be able to answer in less than 1.5 minutes, then answer this and move on. Otherwise, I would say again, flag it and move on so that you can come back later. You see again a lengthier one. Let me read quickly the last line first. Based on this information, the actual number of direct labor hours used in May. Make sure you are reading the right point that is required for the question. Okay, most of the time you'll be able to ask up the question at the end. See, this is a simple one-liner answer. So I will answer this and go on. At times what happens wherever there is again a lengthy question came. So let me see that. Using the indirect method, what is the amount of cash generated by operating activities? Cash generated by operating activities. All right. So let's flag this and move on. I see this time not really a big question, but there is some keywords I find most and I try to answer it. But after reading the question and looking at the answer options, I'm not able to make out, but by best judgment, it looks like for me, for example, this is not a market focus for sure. And this is not financial leadership because there is nothing like financial leadership, which is a cost leadership is actual term available. And then I think either cost focus or differentiation. I'm not pretty sure, but I would like to answer this later. I have already eliminated 2 inappropriate options. I left with 2 options. I need to choose one among this. So this kind of things, if you are not able to make a best judgment quickly, so flag it and move on. This is what I would recommend you to do it, right? When you are like this, so there is a calculation required and you didn't carry your calculator, right? So you can click on this calculator and which will pop up here and you can use this. Use either your keyboard numeric pad or use your mouse and click on each number like this. Okay, so that's how you can navigate. Good. Then moving on to our most important thing, to know what is there in the gear icon and the filters, how to apply it, right? So if you click on this option, if you wanted to change this color of it, if you are not comfortable with white background color and you wanted to see a different color, you can choose one of those colors. So which will change your screen background into a different color. So make sure you are comfortable with that color, whatever the color you are comfortable. It says blue text with white background. If you are comfortable with blue text with white background, go for it. Or if you are comfortable with whatever. So test all this in your simulator itself. So don't make an experiments in real exam, which will simply waste your time, right? So that's all available in your preferences here. So I don't know what was the right one, light blue text with a black text with a white background. Let me go with this. I think again, we are not, let me go with the default color scheme. I think this is more comfortable and looks good. All right, and let's see what is there in this contrast. In case your brightness of the screen is not sufficient for you according to your vision, in case of any challenges that you have with more lighting or less lighting, adjust this lighting according to that helps you. Okay. Now comes the most important thing, the filtering criteria. See, there are few questions which I have answered and few questions, let me mark here for your better understanding. I have answered it, but still I am not quite sure whether this is the right answer and I have flagged it as well. So let's go back to this filtering criteria. In this case, there are only 25 questions in your simulator, which is showing it. In your real exam, it will show you all 100 questions here. So if you wanted to filter with only those unattempted, so when you are done with all one-liner simple questions first, then come to this filter and see unattempted. Come to the unattempted because you haven't even worked on this. There are few things you have flagged it and few things which you haven't flagged. Anyway, don't worry. So always you keep an eye on the remaining time and filter with unattempted and click on lock pad. Okay, now your lock pad is available. So just close on this and click on one of these questions, which will show you what you are supposed to answer now. You have already highlighted some portion, which will be there even you click on finish test, right? So that way it will automatically get saved all the changes that you are doing it each time whenever you navigate to next slides. Okay, so when you click on next, it will automatically move to the next flagged question that you have in your list. Okay, next, if you wanted to have a combined ones, you can choose unattempted and flagged both, which will eliminate all attempted one. Why this black one, which is attempted one, is coming again? Because we have attempted, but also flagged. Okay. Whenever you flagged something like this, you make sure after answering it, you will unflag it for a better management. Otherwise, whenever you do the filters again, it will reappear. So let's say that this particular question, I have flagged it and also answered it. Now I am sure that this is the right answer and I'm changing to this and I'll remove the flag. Okay, now flag is gone. So when you go back and check your filters, the question number 9, when you do that unattempted and flagged, it will not appear here. Only those remaining questions will appear. This is how you can manage with your filters. Hope all these tips and tricks will help you to manage your time better. So, and one last thing, when you are running out of time and you are not able to finish your couple of questions, what happens? So without your intervention, system will forcefully take you to the next section, which is essay section. If you either you press finish test button or don't click on it, it will automatically move on with condition. What is that condition? At least you should have answered 50% of the questions or more for you to qualify to move on to the next window. I mean, which next section, which is a essays window. If you have not answered correctly more than 50%, it will prompt a message or it will automatically ends. Not automatically. When you click on finish test within the time, then it will tell you to terminate the session because you haven't answered more than 50% correctly. So that's an indication that you are not through. You don't need to wait for exam results, right? Unless there is any extreme cases, there is some technical challenges that you had, though you believe that you have answered it, then you may need to deal that separately. But in general, if you haven't answered correctly more than 50%, it will not move you to the essays. consider that you have answered more than 50% correctly and you are well within the time, you still left with 1 or 2 minutes. And even after reviewing all those flagged questions and unattempted questions, I would recommend you to quickly jump on to the next section, which is your essays, by just clicking on finish test. If you click on finish test, it will throw you. You have not attempted all of the questions in this test and some have been flagged. Are you sure you would like to finish the test? So the flagging, you don't worry. If you have already answered it, you can leave it as it is. If you have removed the flags, then that would have helped you in a filtering criteria. Otherwise, you don't need to worry about it, all right? So then click on finish. So if you select finish, your answers will be submitted and you will not be able to return to the exam, which means you will not be able to come back to your MCQs. Confirm it by clicking on finish. That's all. So you are done with. At the end, this is the screen which will pop up. You have completed your CMA exam simulation. So in real time, it will show you have completed your CMA exam part 1 or part 2, whatever you are taking it. Thank you for testing with Prometric. Okay, in this case, it will be a different sentence anyway. Okay, finally, you may need to click on finish test one more time. When you click on finish test, it says you have completed this exam. You may now close the browser. So in real exam, there is one more screen up here that is called a survey. It is more about to know your feedback and experience about the Prometric Center and all services, facilities they provided to you to appear the exam. How was the system requirements and how is the staff they received you, how is the environment and everything. They will try to collect a feedback. That's it. You answer all those and then you are done. The survey time will not be counted as part of your 4 hours of exam time. That will be an additional time that you will be provided with additional time to answer those survey questions. All right. Hope this information helps you to see, to answer your MCQs well and manage your time properly. And you can enjoy your exam. I wish you all good luck for your exam. Thank you for patiently watching this video. Please do consider subscribing for the channel for more such updates. I am also sharing essay section in the description in case you wanted to see the essays, those tested in recent window from part 1 at least, and you can consider checking that video as well. Also, I have made another video on how to schedule exam with Prometric. In case you need help with that, you can watch that video. For other help during your preparation level, that there is a study group by students and many other people who have completed both the parts of CMA, and most of them are working, are available to help each other. You can consider joining that. I'll drop that Telegram CMA study group link as well in the descriptions. Please do consider joining appropriately, whatever you think is helpful for you. Thank you. Jai Hind. Bye-bye.